kind of start? Who reached out to who?
So Mike Ridout from The Zone was sitting next to me. He used to work for the UFC, IMG, and was sitting next to me at Wood Warrington and said, "Oh, have you spoke to Tom Aspinall?" I said, "No." He said, "I think one day he could be looking to box, and also like he doesn't really have any representation, and I think he's a bit sort of down in the dumps at the moment." So I was like, "Oh, let's have a call." So I got his number. I spoke to Andy Aspinall. We had a conversation. Then we had a Zoom with Tom, I think on Thursday or Friday of last week. That was the first time I ever spoke to him properly, like in conversation. And then he flew out to see me on Wednesday. By the way, I don't know if he said to anyone else, but he said that he was going to go to Monaco and let me down. In an interview, he said, I was going to tell him I don't think I'm going to do it. And then I met him and changed my mind. I was devastated by that. Wouldn't have sent the plane for him otherwise. But we just had a really good meeting, and like the more I think about it, and I've thought about this across the agency for a while, we know every single facet of the sports business. I've been an agent, so I started my career 30 years ago. We know exactly what a broadcaster pays. We know every broadcaster. We know every sponsor. We know every gate revenue for every event that's driven. We know how to build a profile. We know how to run media and PR campaigns. We're experts across digital and social. I mean, like, we have the best legal team in sport, and we get you paid. So in terms of being an agency, I think we're going to be one of the very best. All of a sudden, this conversation started, and Tom said to me, one of the first questions was, "Oh, what am I, a pawn in your war with Dana?" I'm like, "Not really, but what fucking great timing." And by the way, you're going to benefit off it, because the noise that it's going to create is going to be incredible for the start that we need to do the job for you. And also, it's going to be great to launch the agency, which was never, like, we were always going to launch an agency at some point, but this literally got decided within a week. And we just felt it was a great time to get on with it and launch that agency.
Eddie, in terms of Tom's relationship with the UFC, Dana over the years has fallen out with a lot of UFC fighters for various reasons, but do you expect this to have a play on his relationship with the UFC? And Dana's already had some comments about Tom. Like, do you expect this to have a knock-on effect?
Yeah, I don't think his relationship with the UFC right now is stellar. I mean, I think he feels like he's had a lack of support, and I think he feels like a narrative's been built against him regarding a very serious injury where if you run that back and watch it in slow motion, anyone can see what happened. The guy's had 3 operations. But at the same time, this isn't necessarily about us coming in and trying to bust him out of his contract or, you know, start being aggressive towards the UFC. This is just about sensible conversations. The focus is to get him back in the octagon as soon as possible, right? The second one is, who we fighting? We know he's got a contract, you know, but part of this process is I've been able to read those contracts, and I've been able to talk to him about the purses that he's received. You know, take me back 4 or 5 fights. And the reality is that when he was headlining in front of 20,000 on pay-per-view, he was receiving probably half the amount of money that I would pay a boxer for a British title fight at York Hall, Bethnal Green in front of 1,200 people. And I was absolutely baffled and astonished. Now, obviously, as he's gone on, those purses have increased, but still to a level that I feel is completely unfair in terms of the revenue that's generated and the risk that is in front of them. But as he said quite maturely up there, I've signed a contract. So we are where we are, but I hope there's some sensible conversations. I hope that we can show the UFC what we can do with Tom to drive the value of him in the fight. Because I think even today, like if you're the UFC, really, away from the beef, you should be going, wow, look at Tom Aspinall. He's out there, this is great. When he comes back, this is going to be big. And we can do that in a friendly capacity. But we have to get him respected.
Eddie, is that move to boxing almost inevitable at this point after signing this contract?
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, you know, Andy feels like he could do a lot of damage in the boxing game, and I think Tom's confident of that as well. But I've never really heard Tom say, "I want to go to boxing." I've heard Tom say, "I want to be respected for what I'm risking when I stepped into that ring." And, you know, ultimately, I'm learning, by the way. I mean, there's a huge amount of MMA media here today as well as you boxing guys. As I understand it, that opponent it's not an irregular thing for that to happen against that specific opponent. So when you're coming off the back of 3 operations on your eyes and you've got to go back in there with a guy that's very likely to do it again, you better get fucking well paid to do it. When you're selling out arena, you're getting a site fee and you're getting an astronomical amount in terms of a rights fee from Paramount.
Eddie, if Tom was to decide he wanted to start boxing after the UFC contract ends, what sort of position would that put you in? Because you said yourself up there that it's a conflict of interest to be involved in the management and the promotion side. Obviously there's no Ali Act this side of the pond, but if it was to come to that, would you be forced to either promote Tom or manage him?
Good question. I think that you're only going to see us working with boxers commercially. Do you know what I mean? I think that it's wrong to, and you can't, like you say, you can't do it in America anyway. But I don't want to cross over between doing that in America and doing that in the UK, if that makes sense. Ultimately, if he finishes his UFC contract and there's an opportunity for him to fight, I would take that opportunity to him. Then we have to start thinking about, because as a promoter, your job really is to get the right deal for the fighter and the right deal for your event and your bottom line. The manager's job is just to get the best job for a fight. So we had this years ago because many promoters in the UK used to be both. And it's like, what do? You have a conversation with yourself. Doesn't really work out that way. So, but the focus now is there's no imminent move for him in boxing. But if that ever came, we'd have to consider our position.
Ed, with Dana as a promoter, straight after the fight against Cyril Gane, he seemed to put cold water on Tom, and he had his comments about how legitimate he thought the injuries were. Why, as a promoter, would Dana do that instead of backing his heavyweight champion?
Do you know, I will say, and I'll sort of stick up for Dana a little bit here. I've not accused him in the past, but the reality is, I don't think he has a passion for the fighters, but he does also own an organisation. So he has to stay a little bit impartial. I just feel like with everything that Tom has done and given, to just sort of brush him away as if to go, oh, well, yeah, whatever. Like, oh, he had an injection or something. No, he's had operations on his eyes. Watch it back in slow motion. And listen, I'm not standing here being an MMA fan. I'm just watching that as someone with half a brain going, fuck that. Right? And I know Tom, having met him, I know what kind of guy he is. And he's a tough man. So I think in that position, what you have to do, and what I would be doing as a promoter, is sitting up there and saying, listen, this is a bad injury. But unfortunately, this is a rough sport. No one wants to see a fight end like that. But I know Tom Aspinall. I know what he's all about. He's always fought everybody that we've put in front of him, at time for peanuts as well. And unfortunately, he's got an injury and he's got to go through a very serious process here and have some operations on his eyes where it's going to keep him out for a long game. But we wish him all the best. He's a tough man and he'll come back stronger.
Eddie Hearn,
Yo.
just a question for me as well. With the launch of your talent agencies, I just want to ask, what's going to make your talent agency different to the rest?
Because we understand and we have worked across every different element of sports representation. So we've been agents, right? We have lawyers. We've been sponsorship consultants. We've been broadcast rights holders. We've been governing bodies. We've been fight promoters. So we understand every area of the business. But most importantly, we have you back and we win and we get you paid. So when you look at an agency, a lot of the time, specifically in boxing, these managers just come in. Like, no desk, no office, just a phone. Oh, man, I'm going to represent you. Yeah, hello, Eddie. How much will you give so-and-so? Hang on a minute. Dana, how much will you give so-and-so? Bob Aaron, how much will you give so-and-so? Oh, this is the biggest one. Oh, great, thank you. Give me 15%. What a business. But we've got an infrastructure. And that's why we say ordinary people, extraordinary talent. This is not just across sport. This is across people with extraordinary talent that we can turn into stars, look after them, and make sure, as I said, they can follow their dreams and get paid.
Eddie, what's next for Jaron Ennis after the kind of situation with Virgil Ortiz?
We are now looking at alternative fights for him, obviously. We've been doing that recently as well, but the time is well and truly running out on Virgil Ortiz. We hope for a minor miracle, and listen, this is something that can get resolved actually on a phone call, but whether that's going to happen or not, that might be unrealistic. So I think Jaron would love to fight Xander Zayas. The Josh Kelly fight is also there. So yeah, I mean, we hold out for Virgil, but we are making other plans. One thing is 100% sure, Virgil Ortiz will be fighting in May of this year, and he'll be in a big fight.
And I know that the Virgil Ortiz fight was contractually agreed with Jerome, with yourselves. Is he contractually tied to these regardless of who he fights?
Who's that?
With?
Yes, yeah, multi-fight deal, and yeah, multi-fight for a long period of time, and he'll be back in May.
And just on the Conor Ben Regis Prograis situation, I watched an interview with you recently where you were seeking a bit of clarification on whether that was the fight Conor was getting 15 million for. Any update on that? And following on from that, there's been an update on who the promoter for that show actually
Yeah,
is.
well,
I know that was up in the air.
yeah, I mean, we'd need disclosure on that, obviously, and you know, Mark Shapiro on a TKO at Investical, which you have to be honest on, and I'm sure he was thinking he was being honest, was that ZUFFA and TKO are the promoters of the Tyson Fury event. So we'll see if they are. And by the way, they have to be under Conor Ben's contract. So we'll see how that plays out.
What would the ramifications be if they weren't the promoters?
We shall see.
The WBC ordered Dalton Smith's mandatory title against Alberto Puello. Is that something that you'll move forward with? What's the updates with that?
I'm negotiating that fight with Louis de Cubas. Dalton Smith, we felt like we deserved a voluntary defence, but we also understand that Maurizio could have done other things as well, and stood firm with Dalton Smith, which we appreciate. We want to move with Dalton Smith into unifications as soon as possible. So we feel like if we had a voluntary next, we'd still have to fight Puello after that, and then it's like you're going into 2027 before you can have a unification. So we'd rather get that fight done. It's a very tough fight, especially as a first defence, but a big fight for Sheffield, and we expect that fight to take place hopefully in early June.
Eddie, Turkey tweeted last night saying he's always there for you, pick up the phone
Yeah,
call to
nice.
you. What's the relationship like between you guys? Because it's obviously...
Literally, I had a call 5 minutes before that from Dr. Rakan, asking me to come and meet His Excellency to talk through a lot of stuff, exciting projects. Obviously, we have deals with them across darts and snooker, and we're obviously continuing those conversations on Anthony Joshua. So, have I said to you before, like Turkey is, I don't think you'll mind me saying, he's the king of fuckery. He thinks that kind of stuff's hilarious, and I don't mind it either, because you know where you stand with him. He's going to do what suits him. So we expect that relationship to continue. I mean, contractually, we do that across other sports, but I think he respects what we do, and I expect our relation. I mean, I think there's sometimes a narrative of, Frank's out, Eddie's out. We don't see that at all. We see good opportunities for our fighters and our business, but if there aren't, we have a 5-year deal with the Zone and what will probably be 40 shows a year that we will continue to be extremely powerful.
Eddie, back on...
Eddie, just wanted to respond to Jai Opetaia's comments on TalkSport this week. He said, you were never mates, you've been talking bad on his fight with Landon this weekend, and just what do you make in general with the situation and the standoff?
I think he's right. I mean, we've never really been mates. I've always dealt with Mick Francis. I mean, I think it's a good deal for Jai. All I said is that he hasn't been able to get the fights. He's had to take small money for those fights, and he doesn't really do big numbers in Australia. I mean, that's fact. But I've said he's a great fighter. This is a great opportunity for him. But you can't sit there and go, I'm moving to ZUFFA because I'm going to get the big unification fights and then fight Brandon Glanton, who lost widely to Chris Billham-Smith, because you're just doing the same thing that you've done for the last year. It's not his fault, because the people haven't been wanting to fight him. But they did a face-off with Nicolay, and as I understand it, that fight's not even done. And by the way, I also understand that I don't even know if the IBF title's on the line on Sunday. So, he's right. I like Joe. We've never been mates, and I think it's a good move for him, because I think he needed to do something because he was going to stay.
Katie Taylor's return. Well, not return, but a final farewell. When's that going to be?
For me, we've got to get this done at Croke Park. Like, the more I think about it, I will kick myself forever if we don't make it happen. And someone sent me that picture that I posted the other day, which was like, I was thinking about the moment of her walking out of Croke Park, and I want to feel what I know I'll feel when that happens, like even selfishly. I mean, I want her to feel it, but I want to feel it myself, because I will look at her walking out, and I think I will literally lose my mind, and I think I will break down in tears, because it will just be the most historic event the country will ever see.
Who will be the opponent, do you think, for that?
I have no idea at the moment. I mean, she's got about 8 mandatories coming out of her ears, but we know it's going to be her last fight, so it's not like, we have to deal with all the mandatories, so we'll have to see.
Any conversations with Croke Park?
Yes, I had a call with them on Wednesday, and I expect to go to Ireland soon to have a further meeting with them.
It's all got time for